Hello everyone, what's up and welcome back to another video. Today I will be discussing my 2023 reads challenges and how far I am. So I think it was the beginning of December last year, I mentioned that I'm only going to be doing 23 books to read in 2023. That's not going as well as I thought it was, but along the line I discovered that my A to Z challenge is going well. So I think let's have a look at that. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below how your challenges are going or any suggestions for the blank spaces in my A to Z challenge. And let's just jump right into the video. So let's start with the one that actually looks like I did a lot, which is my A to Z challenge. As you can see, I only need a few. I need E, J, oh good grief, K, N, V, and Z. So I'm faring well. It's just that I don't think I'm gonna find books that start with these, but we never know. So I'm just gonna run through a few of these books. Most of them also, well, some of them also appeared in my books to read for 2023. So the first one is A for American Roommate Experiment. This book I gave, I think, a 5 out of 5 stars. It is about a girl who goes to live at her best friend's flat, but she doesn't know that her best friend also rented out this flat to her cousin, and this girl has a big crush on this cousin. You know, it's a one bed kind of trope thing, so yeah, it's very cute. I really enjoyed it. This is the second book by Elena Almas, I think, and I enjoyed this so much. I think there's 2 other books that are in this list as well, where I did like a whole romance reading vlog, which I really encourage you to go look at. Moving on to B, Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I recently read this. I don't have a video vlog for it because I just fell off the bandwagon somewhere along the line, but I did give it 4.5 out of 5 stars and recently changed it to 5 stars because I just really love this book. There's 4, I would say, sub stories, but they move into one main story, and each and every person in these 4 stories want to go back in time to talk to the person they love. The one person is like a fiance or someone who walked out of them. The second person is a wife who wants to talk to her husband who has Alzheimer's. The third person is a woman who wants to talk to her sister who passed away. And then the last one is kind of like you can choose to go into the past, but do you want to go into the future as well? All of these people have to talk to this person before the coffee gets cold. If they don't say whatever they want to say before the coffee gets cold, they are stuck in that dimension, and in the current dimension or the current time frame, they become ghosts. So that was a very intriguing story. I really loved it. It was so wholesome. It was also a tearjerker, so just look out for that. Then C is Crown of Crimson by Karina Hall. I did a video vlog on the series, I think at the beginning of January, just before I got married. And this is basically about a woman who is looking for her father in the underworld because she was told he had a deal with the devil or the deal with death. And she travels down to the underworld, which is Finnish inspired. So it's kind of like a Hades and Persephone, but also a Beauty and the Beast. It's very weird, but it's very intriguing. This is the second book. The first book is River of Shadows. Both of these I think I gave 3 and 4 out of 5 stars. Really an immaculate story, and I believe, I think, because today's the 18th, I think the other book came out just the other day, so I might be reading that soon. And then D is for Daggers and Destiny by River Knights. This is a novella for the Altheria Chronicles, if I am correct. I can't remember. If I'm not correct, I'll just put a thing here. But this is basically about how Altheria came to be, about this girl who discovers a stone and some crazy woman tells her, you are destined for greater things than where you are now. And she goes on this journey where she discovers that she is kind of like the chosen one. So she has to save her town and the whole Altheria from destruction, from these people who are bringing war to their country. As you see, E is missing, so we're just going to move on swiftly away from that. Then we get F for Fourth Wing. I gave it 5 stars. For me, the hype is worth it. I'm sure all of you know what Fourth Wing is about, so I'm not going to elaborate. But if you are still unsure, it's got dragons, it's got enemies to lovers, so, you know, all around a good time. If you like romantasy, leaning heavily on the romantasy and some aspects of what can I say, politics, then go for it. Just know that there's a lot of spewing about details in this, but I really enjoyed it, so I can't complain about it. Then we get G, Glass Houses by Rachel Kane. This is the start of the Morganville Vampire series, and Glass Houses is basically about Claire, who is 16 and she's currently in university. She's one of those I'm not like other girls. So she is 16, she's very smart, and she's being severely bullied by this group of girls in the university. And it's a very strange university that she's going to. It's kind of like a bridging course before she goes to another university. And while she's here, she decides that she doesn't want to live in the dorm. She's going to move into the glass house, where three very strange characters are. But she makes friends with them, and through them speaking, she discovers that vampires are actually real, and that this house where she's staying at is kind of like a target for these vampires. So whoever stays in there, if you don't have a protection around yourself, the vampires tend to like you. So yeah, it's a very fast-paced, interesting kind of read. This is the second time I've read it, and I really enjoyed it. So if you were looking for some teenagey, young adult vampire series, I think go for it. Then H is Heartstopper. I read all 4 graphic novels, I guess you can say it, in the beginning of the year. I really enjoyed it. It was also sweet, and it also gave awareness to mental illnesses. You know, it raises the question that should you leave the person you love with their mental illness, or do you love them to actually try and work with them through it? It doesn't start out as heavy in the beginning, but as you progress through the series, you discover that there's eating disorders involved, and there's people who are trying to accept themselves for who they are. So that kind of thing. It's very sweet. If you're looking for like a sweet graphic novel just to take your mind off life, I really would suggest this. Then I is for Ink Death by Cornelia Funke. I have a whole video vlog where I spew out all my thoughts about this, and it's a 5 out of 5 stars. It's about a book within a book, or a book about books, and it's just amazing. It's fantasy, it's dark, and yeah, very intriguing. If you've seen the movie, you would know what I'm talking about. This is just the 3rd book in the series. The movie, I think, only stopped at the 1st book or something as such. Then J and K are empty, so we're not going to be talking about that. I'm still looking for books, but I'm also not actively looking for books, so yeah, leave your comment down below. L is for Living with the Dead by Kelly Armstrong, and I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and this book is about a necromancer whose name is Jamie. And she and 3 other spiritualists, whatever you want to call it, are asked to do like a film thing, I don't know, in her house. And she soon discovers that there are more dark, mysterious things that happen in this house long before. And she's trying to solve this before they end the filming. But yeah, it's just very harrowing with all the stuff that's happened in this house. It's also very good. I like some urban fantasy stories, and Kelly Armstrong has always been one of my favorites. So I definitely would suggest picking up this series. Then M is for Men of the Otherworld. This is also just part of the Kelly Armstrong Women of the Otherworld or the Otherworld series. I'm not going to dive into it because if you don't know the characters, you won't know the story. But it's just about the men in the Otherworld series. The main series is about the women, and this is just about the men who are... It basically evolves around werewolves. In empty. O is for One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I believe this is a second chance romance, and this follows a woman who marries her high school sweetheart, and a few days after their 1st year marriage anniversary, he dies. Or he just disappears off the face of the earth, depending on what you want to believe. And so she's shattered, and after a few years she moves on, and she falls in love with her high school friend, and they become engaged. And I think on the 3-year anniversary of her husband's death or disappearance, he calls her and he's like, hey, I'm in Hawaii and I'm alive and I'm coming home. And she's just like, all what? So it's a very intriguing story, heavy on the people change throughout the years and they don't stay consistent. And if you move out of their lives and come back in, you will realize that they're not the same person as what you used to, or they're not the same person who you grew together with. I don't know if that makes sense, but That is basically what I got, the message that I got from this. P is for Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I really like this book. I would say it was different than what I'm used to, obviously, because it's a classic. But like I say, I really enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone knows what it's about, but if you don't know, it's basically about these two people who just roast each other and slowly start to fall in love. Q is for Quest of Shadow and Ruin, and this is just about a thief and a bandit hunter. What is he? Okay, so it's basically just about two people who have to work together to save their counterpart people that they love, but they are like close enemies. But throughout the story is they continue to say, I trust you, I do, I really do, and then they proceed to do stuff that causes you not to trust them at all. So yeah, it's very cleverly written. It's by River Knight and Chris Ruler. They are both indie authors. It was a very nice introduction to what I believe is going to be a very good series. Then because I already talked about River of Shadows, I'm not going to talk about it again. So S is for Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I read this in my 3 romance books I read for Valentine's Day. And this is about a girl who has a crush on Julian Voss. They were friends or acquaintances, if you want to call it that, in high school. And they almost kissed, but something happened and didn't. And Hallie, who is the main character in this book, she's always had an obsession with Julian. And Julian can place her, but he can't remember her. So it's a very weird situation. Like, he's in his own head most of the time. And then one day she writes, when she's drunk, she writes him a secret admirer message. And that just snowballs effect into them corresponding through secret messages. Yeah, I almost gave something away. But it was very sweet, very cute. I really enjoyed this book more than I enjoyed here we go again, her other books, the Hook, Line and Sinker series. So yeah, I can't remember. I think I gave it a 5 out of 5. 4 or 5 out of 5 stars. T is for 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This is a dystopian novel about a girl's scientific parents who create, like, it's called a firebird, and it's basically a dimension jumper. And in the beginning of the book you learn that her dad was killed because of this firebird thing, and she and one of the apprentices for her parents believe it was the other apprentice who they grew up with that killed her father. And she and Theo jump through each dimension to find Paul, and throughout these 4 or 5 dimensions they jump through, she starts to learn who Paul really is, and she starts to question, is he really the guilty party? Then I read Unfortunately Yours, also by Tessa Bailey. This is part of the Secretly Yours, I don't know it's the Vine duology or something like that. This story is about Julian Voss's sister, and she enters into a marriage of convenience with this army guy, or he's a dude, and at first it's like enemies to lovers because she doesn't like him for some apparent reason, and he doesn't like her because she said something bad about his wine, which is, he admits, horrible, but he was mad that she just said straightforward to him it's like drinking vinegar. I don't know. And so they banter between each other, and they each decide to marry because he needs money to continue with his winemaking business, and she needs money for her inheritance so she can start her own practice. And make of that what you will and continue on, I guess. V, as you can see, is empty. W is Where the Lightning Goes. Can't remember who wrote this, but this was a really good story about a girl who needs to find herself, basically. So this follows a girl who falls from the sky, like just crashes into the ground, into an evil wizard's area, and she asks him to help her with her magic so that she can defeat this ruler whose castle is in the sky. And even though everyone thinks she's crazy because she wants to go back into the sky, she meets a few wonderful people who decide to go with her on this journey, and how each of them discover their own personality and, you know, what makes them unique in a way. I don't know if I'm explaining this good, but I really did enjoy it, and more of my thoughts will be linked up here. Was it here? One of the two. I'll link it up here. Then we get hello. Don't know why 6 of Crows is on X, so we're gonna ignore that. I don't have an X. Probably because they read like the X on the 6 and they were like, yeah, this is an X story. Okay, so we're gonna ignore that one. And then the U, Y, I read it. The Y is for You Have a Match I think I gave it a 4 stars, but this is about a girl who discovers she has a long lost sister, and she's also in love with her best friend. I don't know, it's a very confusing story, but it's a very cute story of how she builds a relationship with her sister, as well as trying to figure out why she, or was it her half sister or something like that, and why they were separated from birth while at a camping ground for something for school. It was something along those lines. I did enjoy it. I don't think I have a video vlog up for that, but yeah, that is my A to Z challenge. Then I'm not going to talk a lot about my 23 books to read in 2023, because as you can see, I only have a few check marks, and most of these I do have video vlogs up for, so yeah. But the ones I completed was The Phantom of the Opera, Ink Death. Corin Slaughter, I was busy reading her one, that's why you see an X there. I was busy reading it and then I DNF'd it for something else. I wanted to read it for Summerween, but during Summerween I think something happened that I just couldn't pick up the books, so that's what happened. And then Cool Crown I read and enjoyed. Shadow and Bone I read with my best friend. 1,000 Pieces of You, which I just discussed. Ready Player One. A Court of Silver Flames. I didn't make a video vlog about that because I mean everyone has read that book, most of everyone, and everyone has mixed feelings about it. I'm on the scale where I completely love that book. 5 stars for me. And then the last one is Siege and Storm. I don't know why I don't have a Ruin and Rising there. It would have made my life so much easier. Anyway, so those are the 23 books that I read. Those are the books that I read. I am planning on making a dent into the rest pretty soon. With 3 months left, basically September's almost, gone. I don't know if I can force a lot of these books in, but I will try. Please remember to leave your comments, suggestions down below for the A to Z challenge, and I'll see you guys in the video next week. Bye!